Welcome and well met, all my fellow adventurers. Thank you for joining me here today for our next discussion, which is going to be talking about a theory that fans have been wanting to see for a while now. And that is the concept that we could possibly be having a time skip for the world of Hydaelyn for the upcoming expansion of 7.0. Now, we've had time skips before in the Final Fantasy series, and they've been done in ways that have worked out well, like how we had the events of Diverge of Cerberus and Advent Children take place within a few years after the events of Final Fantasy VII. Another good example would be with 10 and 10-2, which takes place within a time skip of about 2 years. But the question here is, does 14 need another time skip? Because already it technically had one with the time skip of 5 years between the events of 1.0 and 2.0. But with the ending of the storyline for Hydaelyn and Zodiark, it really makes one question if it would be a good idea to add one in right now. Well, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with a time skip so long as they're done right and not overused. Otherwise, it feels like we're jumping around and we miss a lot of potential growth and character development. So let's talk about the pros and cons of having a time skip now for the game. So starting off with the pros, the first reason I could think of that it would be a good time to have a time skip is just the timing of the story where we're at now. I mean, if we are going to have a time skip, now would probably be the perfect time to do so. And I'm not talking about a massive amount of time like in 10, 20, 500 years or anything like that. More like a reasonable 2 to 3 years, maybe 5 years at most, just so that we could see some of the changes going on in the world. That would be a reasonable amount of time to see how things would change and be a perfect time for a redesign of many maps and locations, as well as showing a chance to change or upgrade the characters. Especially since 7.0 is meant to be going through a lot of graphical changes and updates. This could be a good chance to update character models, change parts of the environment, and thus allowing the dev team to push boundaries even further along in future expansions. The confirmed graphical update is the main reason why people think that a possible time skip is coming our way. Also gives changes to the cities and the characters as they continue to focus upon rebuilding after the near end of the world. I can imagine just how much fun that would be to have a look at some of the city-states and see how well they're coming along after, say, 3 years, for example. Such as maybe having the Foundation in Ishgard be rebuilt, maybe have places across Udal that are still damaged from the calamity that we don't have access to, now accessible. And it also gives places like Limsa or Sharlayan to be able to reach out to other lands, like say the students of Baldesion finding safe passage to Mericidia, for example. Or even Limsa building proper trade routes with Mericidia or even to the New World. Lands like Dalmasca and Corvos could have used the time to recover from their respective uprisings and continue to work on rebuilding their cities. Not to mention we could see Garlemald under a new government working towards building relations with other nations and parts of their city rebuilt and on their way to recovering. Maybe Yashola could have used the time in between to be able to make some progress in crossing over to other shards, which would lead to new upgrades to some of our favorite characters. And I don't just mean with clothes, I mean making them look older, get different hairstyles. I know that a lot of people have been desperately wanting the twins to age up, make them look more adult. And after seeing some of the fan art of what people think they would look like as older, I could kind of see the appeal, to be honest. Possibly we can even go ahead and give us a new cast of Scions to help us out in future expansions as well. Now, I love the Scions, and I'm not saying we get rid of them completely. We can still have them make appearances here and there, but for many of them, their stories feel pretty much complete and they don't have many struggles to overcome anymore, which could be nice to actually give them a chance to retire, do things that they want to do, with maybe just a few occasional visits if we need extra support. I think that the reason that new characters like Zero and Vashon have grown so popular so quickly is because they're new and they have so much potential for room to grow. All in all, I do think that if there was ever a time to be able to put in a possible time skip, now would be the best chance to do so before we head off to our new adventures. And not only that, it would be the perfect chance to really feel like we're saying goodbye to the old story and give us a new story to focus on. But what are the cons involved? So, for the cons, I'm sorry if I'm destroying a lot of hopes and dreams for some of you, but I really doubt that we're going to be getting a time skip because of something that Yoshi P mentioned. He said that there were no plans to age up the twins, first of all, as well as the fact that the 6.1 to 6.5 patches are all set up for 7.0. So it sounds like as soon as 6.5 is finished, we're going to be heading off immediately to 7.0 and the expansion there. So it doesn't sound like much time is going to be able to pass between those two in the game world. Also, using the new graphic update as a reason for a time skip, it doesn't really make too much sense there because there are still going to be new players who haven't completed Endwalker yet, and they're going to be seeing the new graphics as well. To use the new graphics to change things would mean isolating players who haven't caught up yet, as well as possibly confusing them to the story itself. Sure, we were able to use that method between 1.0 and 2.0, but that was only because no one uses 1.0 anymore. Not to mention, it would also be really expensive. I mean, would the dev team really put so much time and effort into changing so much where they could be focusing their resources on creating new worlds and lands for us to explore? I mean, I know where I would rather see their time and efforts go into. I mean, look at WoW. They've had a few time skips in the storyline so far, but apparently that has made things very difficult to follow the storyline afterwards, so maybe not the best example. Besides, it would be pointless to spend so much time and resources redesigning old instances and solo duties only for all of it to go to waste after a time skip. I know that there are players who don't care about the story, and sure, they're free to level boost and ignore the storyline completely. But then if that's the case, what point would there be in having a time skip to begin with? Not only that, it just doesn't make sense story-wise to have a time skip here because we're immediately going off to the Void, and then what? So we just immediately jump like 5 years into the future after exploring the Void? No, I mean, the only way I can actually see a time skip fitting in here is if the Warrior of Light ends up trapped in another world. Remember, time can alter drastically on another reflection. So say we get stuck in the 13th for a spell while our friends remain in the Source. It could be a good chance to naturally implement a time skip to the story without it just being a simple start to the expansion and now we're 5 years in the future. The dangers in that, though, is that with a time skip might make us feel disconnected with the world and the changes that have happened while we were away. Now, we have 2 other continents to explore at least, with Mericidia and the New World, which don't really need time lapses to be able to visit them right now. I feel that the main reason that people actually want to have a time skip is especially for the twins and see them finally age up. And as much as I would really enjoy seeing that personally, I don't see it as something that is desperately needed right now, especially if there is a possibility, however slim, that more time travel could be involved in the future, which is always a possibility. I've been thinking about what might happen towards the end of the 6.x patches, and all we know for sure is that there is going to be a big event that will change the story forever, or so Yoshi P stated. My running theory is that a war between the Source and Golbez is about to happen, but something steps in and prevents the Voidsent from making it as far to the Source. Whatever this event will be, personally I feel that crashing the moon into the 13th, releasing a massive burst of light-aspected ether to not only dispel most of the darkness of this world, restore the life stream, and wipe out most of the Voidsent population in one blow, isn't out of the realm of possibility. That's just me though. But whatever happens, I think that the boundaries between the shards start to crack, causing bigger rifts to come into existence, thus creating a whole massive effort to try and fix the fractured boundaries between worlds. Or at least, my theory is something along those lines. Anyway, that's it for right now. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. Sorry if I ended up breaking a few hearts at the thought of not having a time skip, but really the only reason I did this was actually to annoy a good friend of mine online and crush any hopes they have of seeing a time skip. So, sorry, I know it's petty, but what can I say? I had a lot of free time and not really much to do around here right now. Anyway, again, that's it for now. If you have an idea or suggestion to what you would like to see on a future video, please drop a comment down below, and please subscribe to get more videos like this one. But until next time, everyone, may you walk in the light of the crystal.